So you want to ride in Northern Thailand and explore the fantastic roads and riding in Northern Thailand? And you want to do it right now. Stay tuned, watch this entire video, and you'll know exactly what needs to be done. In the video, I'm going to be walking you through licensing, requirements, insurance, renting of the bike, what you need to be worried about in terms of safety and all of that. Let me start first by talking you through the licensing requirements. Now, by law, you do need to have an international driver's permit with you when you're riding or driving in Thailand in a rented vehicle or if you buy a vehicle there. But in most cases, I've noticed that your regular country's license is more than enough. So in my case, my Indian driver's license was more than enough for me to rent a motorcycle. I did not get stopped by traffic police anywhere, so I haven't experienced the need to have the IDP, but all research online shows that you do require the international driver's permit with you along with your original country's license. So that's about licensing. Now, about insurance, unfortunately, as against many other countries I've rented motorbikes at, Thailand doesn't offer, collision damage waiver kind of insurance from the guys that you're going to be renting at. You do have to submit your passport as collateral in that sense, or about 20,000 Thai baht as a deposit in case something happens to the vehicle. It's a small scale industry kind of a situation there. It's not in that sense regulated. So that's something that you need to be aware of and plan accordingly. I left my passport and they gave me a copy so I can, submit at hotels that I'm checking into, etc. And came back, gave the bike, they inspected it and gave my passport back. So that's that in terms of the insurance. So if you do have travel insurance that covers you for vehicle, accidental damage or collisions or any of that, just make sure that you're covered in Thailand and you should be good to go and you can protect yourself that way. That's about insurance. Now, about actually renting the vehicle, there are many, many places that you can rent from. But the first question always is what kind of bikes? What bikes can I rent and what's available? And the bottom line is this: you've got everything that you can possibly want. You've got from your superbike category, roadsters to adventures to crossover adventure tourers, you name it, you've got everything there, including renting a Vespa if you'd like to do that. So sky's the limit. I personally rented a middleweight CB650R. That was perfect for my need. It had enough oomph, about 85 horses there, and not as light as I would have liked it, but it was perfectly fine. It matched the Thruxton R that I currently ride in India. So it was about, if I remember right, 220 kilos wet, very, very nimble, enough power for the roads that I'm going to be riding on. And it was a brand new bike. If I remember right, 1200 or 1800 kilometers is all that it had on it. So that's what I rented. Now, where do you rent from? Now, you've got big bike renting and you've got regular renting. It's very common to rent a two-wheeler in Thailand, and most people will pick up a 100cc or a 150cc or a 250cc scooter for them to move around town local within the city. The places that you need to rent from will always have a big bike tag attached to it. So big bike renting. Now, big bike, they mean anything that's typically about 400cc upwards, and you've got everything, from your 1250 GSs that you can rent through to Royal Enfield 350cc's or 500cc motorcycles that you can rent. So I personally rented from Pop Big Bike Rental, but you've got a couple of others. I'd say there are a handful of big bike rental companies in Chiang Mai. Now I'm talking about Chiang Mai here, which is going to be your natural start for your tour when you're riding in Northern Thailand. So you've got Pop Big Bike, you've got Mr. Mechanic, you've got a few others. I forget the names right now, but just Google Big Bike Rental Chiang Mai, and you'll have all these options. Or you can check it out in Google Maps. So that's about renting, where you rent from. Now, Pop Big Bike has, the reason I rented from them is they've got a massive fleet of vehicles. As you can see there, that's just one shot. They've got an entire garage behind the yellow panels there. CB500X is a very, very popular motorcycle to rent in Chiang Mai, and I think they have about 30 of them, brand new, 21 models. I recently saw a post by them that talks about 22 models as well. So they've got 22 models, late model motorcycles, all of that, Africa Twins, BMWs. And you've also got, for the ones who are not used to riding a motorcycle with the gear, they've got the 350 or 300 or 350cc scooters, as well as the 700 odd cc, scooters that are there. That's a hoot to ride, and just perfectly capable to do this entire tour. So if you're worried about a geared motorcycle, don't worry. You can rent one of these bigger scooters. That'll really help. Okay. This is the point that I will ask you to subscribe, like, share this video. It helps the channel. It helps me grow the channel and providing you content like this on a regular basis. And let's move on. Okay, let's talk about the routes now. I'll get myself out of the way here. I have a little diagram that's up there where you'll see basically two loops marked 1 and 2. 1 is on the left and 2 is on the right. The first loop, which is a classic loop, is from Chiang Mai to Mae Sariang to Mae Hong Son Pai, going clockwise. That's a classic loop. It's called the Mae Hong Son Loop, and that's something that you can do in, I'd say, 2 to 3 days is an ideal time for you to map that route out. And very enjoyable. You start off in Chiang Mai, head southwest to Mae Sariang. That's a fairly easy route, not too many curves. And then as you move from Mae Sariang north to Mae Hong Son, the curves, you're getting into the mountains, the curves and twisties start off. And the best part of that route is from Mae Sariang to Pai, and then finally Pai back to Chiang Mai. The latter from Pai to Chiang Mai is just fabulous. It's spectacular road. It's called a 1095, and it's a must do. You can alternatively, if you're comfortable riding twisties, you can also do this entire loop 1. You can do it anti-clockwise, where you can go from Chiang Mai to Pai, get your fun riding those twisties, get to Mae Hong Son, Mae Sariang, and then back to Chiang Mai in the anti-clockwise direction. Loop number 2 is also fabulous. Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, going to the northernmost point in Thailand, going to the Golden Triangle, where Laos, Thailand, and Burma meet, and then coming down through Chiang Kong to Nan, and then back via Phayao to Chiang Mai. I apologize if my pronunciation is wrong. This is how I pronounce it, sorry. So now that's the loop, and that loop can be done from 4 or 5 days through till 15 days, depending on how much you want to ride and how much time you have on hand. It's very comfortably done in 4 to 5 days. If your focus is riding, and if you won't include tourism, obviously you'll need more time to spend at each destination. So that's something that you can consider. Which now leads me to the next point. Now, the roads. One of the biggest reasons that you should be riding in Northern Thailand is the quality of tarmac and just the overall, road infrastructure, the signage, the lane marking, and they're constantly upgrading the quality of roads. Right after the rains, road quality dips, and they're constantly upgrading it. That's what I saw. So roads are just fabulous. They've got those long benders, you've got those twisties, you've got tight. Challenging technical roads. All of it is available here. You can see this, massive gradient hairpins here, which are just beautiful and lovely. Challenges you as a motorcyclist, and just gives you that massive smile on your face. So that's the quality of roads that is in Thailand. One of the things that you do need to worry about, and depends on the time of the year that you're traveling to Thailand, is whether it's going to be raining. And if it is going to be raining, please stay within limits. Make sure your tires are okay, and don't challenge yourself when it's raining. It's not worth it. Taking a toss when the road conditions. And obviously, you're in twisties and you have adrenaline flowing and all of that stuff. Just make sure that you're controlled and watch out and choose a time where it's not going to be raining. So the ideal period of riding without rains is the safest period will be between November and March, April, for riding without rain. The best period to ride, obviously, is going to be when it's the coolest in Thailand, which is between November and January. It's also dry there. Uh, by the end of January, you start getting, the farms start burning stuff, and it gets a little smoky and hazy, and the air quality dips. So that's something that you need to take into consideration. I'd say towards the end of February onwards, mid-February and February onwards, is something you need to take into consideration when you're planning a trip. Now, here are some videos of my riding. And while it may seem faster than it actually is, I'm possibly riding only at about 70, 60, 70 kilometers an hour, except for these long benders where you obviously are you're enjoying it and putting the bike through its paces in that sense. Also, one of the things that you need to consider is the scenery around you. The later you go in the year, that is after March, it's going to get drier, and I'd say from the end of April, mid-May onwards, monsoon is going to hit. So your scenery is not going to be. I mean, it's beautiful when it's raining. It's going to be all green and all of that. But again, between October and February is when you'll be able to, the views are going to be the best, and you really are going to enjoy both the riding as well as the views that you get to see. Now, one thing that's really, it was surprising when I rode, surprising to me when I rode in Thailand, was the coffee culture. And it is vibrant and it's great. And all these highways have fabulous little spots. All the towns have great cafes, small little cafes. This was right at the northern tip of Thailand. Yeah, northern tip of Thailand, bordering Burma, Laos, not sure. I was there, and this was on the way to Pai from Chiang Mai. Beautiful little cafe, Halloween themed, very nice coffee. Really enjoyed myself there. And yeah, so great roads, food we don't need to talk about. Everybody covers that. Thai food is just fabulous. But as a roundup, I'd say rent within your limits. It's a lighter bike is better for you. Please wear all the gear all the time, ride safely, a lot of curves. You don't really have speed limits being enforced in that sense. You don't have, you know, speed traps, cops waiting to check your speeding. It's not there. So you are very free. Traffic is very low, but stay within your limits, ride safe. Consider that you're going to be riding through villages, and that's, it's their everyday route for people in the villages who are basically farmers. So do consider that, be respectful of their space. And pack light. It's always, I mean, I'm sure most of you riders would have agreed, I mean, would have experienced the fact that your panniers are fully loaded and you come back home with, clean clothes and stuff that you haven't touched in the course of your tour. Pack light, it's always better. Thailand is inexpensive. If you need to pick up something, like for instance, toiletries, just pop into a 7-Eleven. It's everywhere. Pick that up. Don't carry that massive tube of moisturizer or shampoo, etc., etc. Buy small, keep it light. You will thank yourself for it. Stay hydrated. That's one thing that you don't realize. It's hot in Thailand, and pretty much even in the coolest period, it is going to be hot. And when you're riding, you're exposed, and both the wind and the sun is taking its toll on your hydration. So stay hydrated throughout, even when you don't think you need it. You need to be consuming water. So yeah, the final point would be to experiment. There's no set route. The roads are just fabulous. You can choose any road and pick it up. Stick to the state highways, and you'll just enjoy yourself. Experiment, enjoy yourself, and experience what it is to be local. So while you may have fancy resorts in some of the places that you're going to, it really will help the local there when you stay at a local place. It may not be as fancy as what you're used to, but uh, you're a rider, so I'm sure you're going to be fine. So that rounds up my inputs to you to plan your Thailand ride. I hope you found this useful, and if you did, do subscribe, like the video, share it, post your comments with any questions that you have, and I'd be happy to answer them. So stay safe and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and our website there. My personal Insta ID is there. It's 5R1KAN7H. My name is Shrikant, and I'll see you the next time.